I spent the whole summer exhausted, doing everything for a man who kept my engagement ring hidden in a drawer for 2 entire years. But the moment I finally broke down, looked him in the eye, and told him I didn't even care about getting married anymore, his only response was, "Does this mean you'll start making my meals again?" What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into a really intense post from the subreddit r/waiting-to-wed. This one was posted by the user kindly_giraffe, and it is a massive lesson in knowing your worth. Let's get right into the post. My partner, who is 33, and I, also 33, have been together for nearly 7 years. That is a massive chunk of my life. Even before we started dating, we were best friends. I spent a good part of my 20s just dreaming about having a life with him. I used to actually cry myself to sleep thinking he would never be mine. Fast forward a decade, and he is mine. But honestly, now I'm crying myself to sleep because I feel completely alone in my own relationship. Nearly 2 years ago, everything felt like a dream. He took me ring shopping. It was one of the happiest days of my life because it felt like we were finally taking that next big step. A week later, he actually bought the ring. I knew he had it. I knew it was sitting right there in our apartment. But then, time just kept passing. In these last 2 years, he has had so many perfect opportunities to propose. We went on a gorgeous tropical vacation. Nothing. We took a deeply emotional trip back to our hometown to see our families. Nothing. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, every single one passed by, and the ring just stayed hidden. And you know what the worst part was? The humiliation. After we went ring shopping, I was so excited that I told my friends, my family, and my co-workers. For 2 straight years, I had to deal with people constantly coming up to me, smiling, and asking, "So, did he pop the question yet?" Every time, I had to force a fake smile and make up some pathetic excuse about how we were just waiting for the right time. It was embarrassing. I realized my ring had just been sitting in a dark drawer for 2 years, rather than on my finger where it belonged. While the ring gathered dust, I was basically playing the role of a wife on a girlfriend's salary. I was doing absolutely everything for this man. Cleaning the apartment, doing all the laundry, cooking his meals, buying the groceries. We split the rent and bills 50-50, which is fair, but I was doing 97% of the chores. I was carrying the entire mental and physical load of our home. Before the summer started, I hit my limit. I sat him down and gave him a clear timeline. I told him he needed to propose before the end of the year, or I was packing my bags and leaving. And to prove I was serious, I told him that, until I had that ring on my finger, I was completely done doing his share of the work. I would no longer cook his meals, clean up his messes, or do his laundry. Eventually, the apartment got so messy that I broke down and hired a professional cleaner. He agreed to pay half, though honestly, he should have paid the whole thing because he makes most of the mess and refuses to clean up after himself. The crazy thing is, he only agreed that we needed a cleaner because he recently got a hernia and physically couldn't stand up to clean anymore. It's not like he ever cleaned before the injury, but suddenly it was a convenient excuse. Over the summer, my life became a complete nightmare of stress. On top of working my full-time job, I took on a side hustle doing drop-in pet sitting to make extra money. And I was taking a continuing education course for my career. I was drowning. I begged and pleaded with him to just help me out a little bit around the house. Just do the bare minimum so I could breathe. He didn't. I spent my entire summer absolutely exhausted and miserable. I was so burned out that I ended up failing my course. That was the moment everything just snapped inside my head. I realized I do not want to live like this forever. When his life gets busy, I drop everything to do whatever I can to help him out. But when I get busy, I am entirely on my own. I get zero support, and I still have the added responsibility of keeping our condo tidy. This realization completely killed any desire I had to marry him. I suddenly didn't want him to propose anymore. The magic was gone. I looked at him and said, "Don't worry about that timeline I gave you, because I don't care anymore." I expected him to be shocked, or maybe apologetic. Instead, he looked at me and asked, "Does this mean you make meals again?" I wish I had never even found the ring. For nearly 7 years, I have given so much of myself to this guy. I have taken trips for his hobbies. I sacrificed solo trips I wanted to take just so we could go on vacations with his family. For 7 years, I have begged to go on a trip with just him and me, and it has never happened. He just makes promises and never follows through. He's been perfectly fine watching me do everything for 7 years. Things got even more complicated recently. Because of his hernia, he had to get surgery. I stepped up and did my best to take care of him for weeks after his operation. I was basically his nurse. But while I was taking care of him, he casually made a comment that felt like a punch to the gut. He said that if I ever went through a major health issue again, he would help me this time. See, 3 years ago, I had a deep vein thrombosis, a serious blood clot, and needed emergency surgery. He wasn't there for me. My best friend had to take me to the hospital. He claimed he couldn't come because he had to study for a final that was still days away. I sat in emergency rooms, completely alone, terrified, while he was literally at the gym working out. I even got admitted overnight, and he only visited me for 15 minutes before leaving. Yet, when he had his hernia surgery, I was expected to drop everything. One weekend, he thought he was having a complication and got incredibly angry at me for not immediately dropping what I was doing to drive him to the ER and sit there with him for 8 hours. Hearing him admit that he failed me in the past, while demanding I take care of him now, made me completely shut down. Once I started distancing myself and turning cold, he suddenly woke up. Since his surgery, he claims he has a new perspective on life. Suddenly, he wants to prioritize me. Suddenly, he is attentive, caring, and acting like the partner I begged him to be for 7 years. But honestly, it feels way too late. The better he treats me, the more I resent him. Because it shows me that he was always capable of treating me well. He just chose not to until he realized I was actually slipping away. Since I became distant, he is suddenly super motivated to propose. He keeps talking about it, saying he wants it to be the perfect moment, but he still hasn't actually planned anything. In a recent argument, he claimed he was going to do it in August, but my mum visited, so he couldn't. There is always an excuse. He even noticed how unhappy I am and suggested we split up if my resentment is this bad. In an act of pure desperation, I suggested couples therapy. He agreed, but he hasn't brought it up since. And things are just fine-ish. Behind his back, I started looking at new apartments for me and my cat. I even found a condo to buy, and I finally have an accepted offer. I am approved for the mortgage. I am excited, but I am so incredibly sad. The thought of actually leaving him is becoming real and heavy. It is so hard because he is finally acting like the man I wanted, but I am terrified it's just a temporary reaction to me pulling away. I feel like I am so close to getting the proposal, and walking away now means throwing away 7 years. I want to be a wife so badly, but more than that, I want to be chosen and prioritized. My heart aches at the thought of walking away from my best friend of 10 years. But I worry that the second I get that ring on my finger, he will just go back to his lazy ways. At the same time, I am terrified he will be the guy I grieve for the rest of my life. I am so scared I won't find anyone else, and that I'll be single forever. To make matters worse, my mom is making this decision incredibly difficult. She wants me to back out of buying my condo. She thinks I can't afford it, even though I budgeted and know I can with some cutbacks. She just found out from him that he still plans to propose, but thinks we need stability first, like buying a place together. I know he only told her that to keep me trapped,
I know that if he wanted to marry me, he would have done it by now. But I am so scared to jump into the unknown.
Let's see what the community had to say about OP's heartbreaking situation.
The user, the Kermiteer, hit the nail on the head, saying, his first response to you saying you don't care anymore was, "So, you'll cook for me again?" That tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it?
Adventurous Barry, 564, kept it very real. He took you shut-up ring shopping without giving you the shut-up ring. He sounds like an awful partner. You're not equal if he won't help you when you actually need help.
And finally, Noel Rabbi gave the ultimate tough love. Look here, you are in this relationship all by yourself. There is no relationship. You've got a relationship on life support. Your poor mama doesn't know how to help you. You've got to help yourself, and just go. Finish the story, and win. Go, girl.
Wow. Guys, this post is the ultimate example of the sunk cost fallacy. That's when you stay in a bad situation just because you've already invested so much time into it. To anyone watching who is 16, 17, or just starting to date, please listen closely. Do not ever settle for being someone's maid. A relationship should be a partnership, not a trap where you do 97% of the work while they do the bare minimum.
This guy had a ring for 2 years and used it to keep her doing his laundry. He literally abandoned her in the hospital to go to the gym. The fact that he only started acting nice when she completely gave up shows that he doesn't love her. He just loves what she does for him. OP, buy that condo. Take your cat, pack your bags, and run. Being single is a million times better than feeling entirely alone while sitting next to the person you are supposed to marry.
Alright guys, what do you think about this wild situation?